flag. That's a flag. Awesome drive, man. Awesome drive.
It's nice to close out a race like that. That was awesome.
This is the Team Blaney Podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to 2023 season episode 7 of the Team Blaney Podcast. My name is Adam Rogers, and alongside me is co-host Steve Mez. As always, this podcast is brought to you by fans for fans. Steve and I have been following the drivers of the Blaney racing family for 2 decades, and Team Blaney itself launched on social media in 2014. Each weekly episode of the podcast offers an in-depth analysis of Ryan Blaney's latest NASCAR Cup Series race, plus news, notes, and a lineup of special guests throughout the year. This week, we break down the number 12 team's run in the United Rentals Work United 500 at Phoenix Raceway. Steve, welcome back to episode 7. And I didn't say it in that quick intro there, but I did mention that we have special guests, and I want people to hold on and remember that we do have a special guest coming up after our race recap, and that's going to be Leah Blaney Reeves from the Ryan Blaney Family Foundation. Really excited to have her back on again. But first things first, let's talk about this race weekend at Phoenix, because, man, I don't know about you, but that was probably one of the most frustrating top 5 to top 10 cars of all time watching that race unfold for Ryan. And I we talk about it all the time, but it's just so weird how things have changed from, the Dave days where, running up where Ryan was running, we'd be completely ecstatic. But now it's like we just expect so much more. We've been waiting for this win to happen. And we thought that this week was going to be the week.
Yeah, I mean, if you go off the last couple times he's been to Phoenix, a pole to, a couple beginning of last year, he had a pole and finished second, and you just thought, well, it's the time. This is time, it's all going to click. There were certain problems everybody seemed to have, and they were universal. A lot of the teams had the same problem, and a lot of teams, the only adjustment you really could make, especially since there were long green flag runs, is you make air pressure adjustments, and that's about it. Because when you're green flag pitting, you're just trying to get the car back out there, especially when it's a second to a second and a half lap faster on the new tires. So if you pit 2-3 laps before somebody else you're running near, you might get that advantage, come back out on the track and be in front of them by the time they're done pitting. So it ended up being a real interesting chess match. But then again, we get our, grab your popcorn, because we're going to do a green-white checker, because that's the way it needs to be at the end of these races. I don't use the term crapshoot, but that's what it is. You throw them in a blender, and then hopefully you're in the right lane at the right time, making the right move. And, everybody's very talented at this level. So, luck has a little bit to do with it, as we find out. I hate to say the winner got lucky, but the winner got lucky.
Yeah, and that happens from time to time. One other thing to remember, and we talked about this last week, is, they came into Phoenix under a brand new rules package for a majority of the short tracks, the tracks that are a mile and under, except for Dover and Bristol won't be using this package because of the speeds and banking that they have there. I was a little bit nervous because the Penske cars, specifically Logano and Blaney, were lights out in the championship race there. Ryan probably had a car good enough to win if he would have pushed Logano a little bit more, but you don't want to do that when a teammate can win a championship. So they finished 1-2 in the fall in the finale race. I was a little bit concerned that they wouldn't, come off the truck with speed in this year's edition of it because of those tweaks. But things did go a little bit differently. And I know we want to jump into this recap, but I'm really excited because you get to recap a full 50 minutes of NASCAR Cup Series practice. And I just can't wait to hear your notes about this.
Yeah, I took like 3 notes.
But that was different this week because of the new package. They added a Friday practice to that isn't normal. It hasn't been normal for a long time with the series.
Yeah, well, it was still only one practice. They didn't do 2 practices. They didn't do a practice one day and then a short one the next day or anything like that. It was still one practice. You texted me, and I texted you back, test session, right?
Yeah,
that's why I texted you back, because that's what it ended up being. Unload off the truck with what we have figured out on the simulator, and everybody puts down a lap, and that was everybody's quick lap. I don't think anybody came back out later on with new tires or anything like that and did anything quicker. And they ran 48 laps, but what they did is went out. They did like 15, came back in, did another 10 or 12, came back in, another, and ended up at a 48 total. But it was the second quickest lap on that early lap. And it was like the second or third lap he ran. But what I heard from what I'm listening to the scanner and so forth is they were testing some different scenarios out, whether it was stuff they're going to use on Sunday or stuff they're going to use in the fall, because a lot of teams, the smart teams, and they did this last year, they worked on two or three races. They worked on Vegas really heavily because they were going to be back to Vegas, for the, in the playoffs, and then Phoenix, because if you made it to Phoenix in the playoffs and you made it to the Final Four, you have a good notebook to go off of. So I really feel that's all it was. The overall lap average, overall laps, like all 48 laps, his average was number one. His 15 lap average, because he only did one 15 lap run, was second behind Larson. So everything looked pretty good. 0.032 on that lap behind Larson. So once again, everything looked pretty good, looked pretty stout for qualifying coming the next day. So Sunday's qualifying, he was fourth quick in Group B. So being in Group B, that means you go out seventh for the pole when they do the pole run. And it's funny is Larson in Group B was 0.2 quicker than everybody else on his initial. Now he
blew him away. Yep.
Yeah, but then he does come back to the pack on the during pole qualifying. And he still gets the pole, but barely. Ryan ends up eighth. A little bit off, and he kind of like apologized a little bit on the radio. I think he might have missed something or something there, but a lot of guys were having a lot to deal with. How do I run 1 and 2? How do I run 3 and 4? Shifting. There was this whole thing on TV. They talked about this one shifted, that one shifted, this one didn't shift. They shifted twice, downshifted twice, all kind of different things. And I think it messed with some guys and what they really needed to do. And, what they do during the race is a totally different thing. So, it ends up being okay, to start there. So we get to Sunday. Stages of 60, 185, 312, 9 sets of tires, fuel run of 92 to 98 laps, pit stall 41, which is at the end of pit road, which is
honestly, that Ryan had an in-car, and it wasn't just the in-car that every car has now. He had one of the official in-cars, so we got lots of different views throughout the race that at certain points I was, waving my fist at, because we're looking out the back to a car that's like 20 car lengths away when I know we're closing on somebody. But anyway, that pit stop or pit stall was really cool to see him just go dive right into that right on pit road right away. You had a clear view of the crew coming around the car, so that was cool to see.
Yeah, it's what did we talked to Ryan Flores late last year, and he said it's his favorite pit stall.
I could see why, and I don't even know how. I mean, I don't think I know there's rules on like how soon they can jump off the wall and that kind of thing. So, and I think there might have been one empty box ahead of their actual box. So, but yeah, those guys were right off the wall right when he got there every time.
Yeah, the 3 car was the car in front of him, and that's interesting too, because as the race goes on, the 3 ends up a lap down, and so he has open in and then ends up having open out too later on. And like you said, he was one of the regular cars for the camera. He was one of the actual cameras that they were going to use during the race. So the in-car camera that NASCAR.com puts up usually is just through the front windshield. But this one here, being one of the ones that they would use for the broadcast, has one on top of the car, one through the windshield, one on the front bumper, one out the back of the car. And that made things really kind of cool, like you said, so especially on some of these pit stops. So let's see, we get to the start of the race, and the leader took the bottom. So it's kind of interesting that the last couple of races, the leader's taking the bottom on these restarts. Usually the top is the preferred line, but a lot of these tracks, they were trying to work in the top, and it wasn't happening. So by lap 5, he does pass the 34 car. He gets to 7th, and at lap 8, he passes the 1 car and gets to 6th. Not a lot of coming and going as the race goes on. There's people remember the race for the green, white checkers, but the majority of the race was long green flag runs, and everybody was within a tenth to 2/10 of each other time wise. So, at lap 15 in sixth, but 5 seconds back at the 24. So Clean Air, the guy who's the leader, he kind of checks out usually. They do a little bit of Josh by lap 20 is starting to give like some info on where guys are running 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And this is the really cool thing about the in-car camera is when they put the camera on the front bumper of the car, you really got a good idea of the closing rate. And I made a note of this because at lap 24, Ryan starts running the higher lane in 1 and 2, and it's a little more momentum coming out of 1 and 2. And as they close in, he's a tenth faster, and he starts closing in on the car in front of him, as the laps go by. So it's really kind of cool because by lap 30, he passed the 6 car, and it was up to 5th place and was the top Ford at that point, which is, not that we expect it, but that's usually where we're at. And it was good to see that at that point. Josh tells him we're running good times, just keep it smooth. Ryan starts to give a little feedback because they know they're coming to the end, near the end of the stage here. He says it's getting a little loose. And the 4 lap 48, the 45 does pass him, so he gets back to 6th. We get to the end of the stage, lap 60. The 24 wins the stage. Ryan ends up 6th, so we get stage points. And he gives a good report on. He says it's entry, exit loose. He's having to pedal it a little bit, and he's saying, like a number and a half of change maybe, and that the center turn is good. They're pitting in a 6th. They come out 9th, and
talk about this one because I know there's a lot of folks on Twitter that we normally deal with, but because of the in-car cameras and the cameras that were on I think the roof of the car that we saw at the time, we can actually see what happened here.
Yeah, this one I think was the roof camera. Yep. Some of the later pit stuff, they used the one on the bumper down the bottom, which doesn't do much of anything. And I don't know if that was on purpose or not. For the most part, okay, and at the end of the race, we're going to tell you that the pit crew was awesome. But for the most part during this race, they only either lost a spot or gained a spot on most of these pit stops. This one here, they lose 3 spots. And it's just a little thing that you don't see unless the telecast showed it, and the telecast didn't show it. But as they came around from the right side of the car to the left side of the car, around the front, the jackman goes around the front. And somehow, timing-wise, he ended up there at almost the same time that Ryan Flores, the tire changer, was around. And they kind of bumped into each other and knocked the jackman off his path a little bit. Like I said, it's maybe a half of a second of a problem. They come around, change the other side, and they did they did a good stop to the point where they only lost 3 spots. This is something that could have been 10 spots, it could have been somebody fell down, so it was just a little crazy to watch because, I think you had it pulled up too. And you texted me right away and did you see that? I'm like, yeah, I saw that. They're ninth for the choose cone to start the second stage here. The 5 is leading. So the 5 takes the bottom, Ryan takes the bottom, and the restarts at lap 68, and it shakes out to P11. The restarts are crazy. They get 3, 4, 5 wide. They fan out. Now, the one thing Josh tells them every time he's in the low lane is you cannot go below the yellow line before the start-finish line. But once they get to that start-finish line, it could be 6 wide going into 1. At lap 71, he passes 17, gets to 10th. And 4 more laps later, passes the 8 car, gets to 9th. At lap 85, the 5 car is leading, and Ryan's about 7 seconds back. And I got lap 90 here. The next 4 cars in front of him are only like less than a second away, 1.2 seconds away. So at lap 91, the 8 passes, so he's in 10th now, and he talks about he'd rather have his center turn back a little bit. And let's see, at lap 102, he passes the 45, gets to 9th. At lap 107, passes the 8, gets to 8th. And at lap 113, Jonathan tells them they're about 10 to 15 laps from the green flag stop. So, and actually at lap 119, they decide to pit. So they bring it a little earlier than they wanted to, maybe, or maybe they were trying to play that game where they get out there and get back in as quick as possible. But the cycle starts, and he was 8th when the cycle started. He passed the 20 on pit road during this cycle. So first off, the pit stop was better than the 20's pit stop.
Yeah, it was a really good stop. You could even see it in the video.
Yeah. And then the 8 took a penalty here. So at lap 122, when the cycle was pretty much over, Ryan was 6th. He's about 10 seconds back, which is not really losing much ground on a green flag cycle. The 5 car, like I said, still leading at this time. So it's all Hendrick at the front. And at lap 130, he's only about 3/4 of a second back of the 5th place, which is the 1 car. And then at lap 139, we get caution for the wheel on the dog leg for the 10 car. At first, I thought the wheel itself broke. And then some video and some things came out, and they just didn't have the lug nut on, I guess.
It went back and forth. So the wheel did break, but now the reasoning behind this is they said they didn't get the lug tightened. It was tightened a little bit, didn't get it tightened properly, and there's some bolts that are around the wheel well that when it's not tightened properly, the wheel's shaking a little bit. It kept rubbing up against that bolt, and the bolt actually basically sliced the wheel itself off. So there's a portion of the wheel, I guess, still on the hub when it got back there, but the majority of it flew off on the track. I know there's lots of fans that were watching the race on social media, and some still confused afterward because, like, Stuart Haas's Twitter had posted, like, we've been penalized for a wheel breaking, instead of saying we've been penalized for a wheel coming off, because I think at that point they thought that, maybe it was unfair. But they talked with Drew Blickensturfer after the race, and he said, no, we just didn't get it tight, and it was our fault. And they, the jack man and a tire changer are going to have a couple weeks vacation here.
Yeah. Ryan talks about needing a bit more rear drive, and Jonathan says 17 laps on the tire, so everyone should pit, which they end up pitting. Pitting in 6th, comes out 7th. So like I said, it's only a spot there. The 5 car takes the bottom. Ryan takes the bottom here for the choose. Restarts at lap 147. The great words "middle of 3" from Josh. Lap 150 is up to 9th, and lap 162 passes the 1 car, gets to 8th. At lap 185, the 5 wins, but Ryan finishes 8th. So 2 stages and stage points for both of them.
Yeah, and this race is more like the traditional race they would have last year. So remember, this is one of the most consistent teams in the Cup Series, and we saw that with points. They didn't get to victory lane outside the All-Star race, but they were consistently scoring stage points and consistently getting, top 5, top 10 finishes. So this just felt a little bit more comfortable than what we've seen already this season, with the crash at Daytona, though they did come back for a top 10 there, the crash at California, and then the Las Vegas race. Obviously, we saw they're kind of in that zone last for that race, but the finish didn't work out. So it was good to see them running in the top 10 and getting these stage points, as opposed to the goose eggs that we got on the board early on this season.
Yeah, the interesting conversation between Ryan and Jonathan here. It deals with Ryan, the things Ryan wants to change, they can't necessarily change, and the reason is they can't put a wrench in the window and make the pit stop any longer, because if they do this, they lose track position, and nobody is on pit road for the most part is putting a wrench in the window. They're all doing most of their adjustment based on air pressure between the 4 tires, figuring out with this one, that one, and the other, and this is where he asks him what he could do to help with the takeoff on the restarts, because that seems to be the only place he's really getting beat.
Yep.
Is some of these restarts are a little wild, and he's getting in the wash basically of bad air is what it really comes down to. He'd like to be up near the front, but the only way you can't really do much about that. The adjustments you need to make are going to cost you track position to where you'd have to race your way up there. So they're pitting 8th. They come out 7th. So they gain a spot on this pit stop. the leader 5 takes the bottom. Ryan takes the bottom. The restarts at lap 195. Settles out to about 9th here. Lap 210 passes the 14 to 8th. At lap 214, the 14 passes him back, and he gets to 9th there. Ryan talks about trying not to burn up his stuff, so he kind of feels like there's going to be more long green flag runs, and he's right. At lap 233, Jonathan says we're about 10 to 15 to pit. And I wrote down here, the lap times are the same as the next 6 cars in front of them. They're all running about the same lap time. So there's nobody out there who's got an adjustment that is like the best adjustment. If you're in the front, you've got the clean air, and that guy seems to move out pretty easily. And then, the only other thing you can do is run really, really good, consistent laps. And Ryan does a good job of that this whole race. At lap 244, he's in 9th, and they're starting a green flag pit cycle here. The lap 254 here have the 43 has stayed out. So Ryan is P8. So actually, he would have been P7 if it had actually were once it does cycle out in the 43 pits. So he gained, at least 2 spots on the pit cycle.
Yep.
So once again, these are great green flag pit stops, with things, all those moving parts. At lap 268, the 4 car does pass for the lead here. He tracks him down. So he was the only one in that last half of the race who had made enough gains that, his lap times. And like I said, he ran good, consistent laps, maybe only half of a tenth, maybe a tenth better than the leader, and just slowly, methodically tracked him down in that last stage. At lap 273, he passed the 6 and the 43. We did a little twofer in this lap here and gets to 6th. And, Josh at lap 279 tells him he's one of the fastest cars out there. So fastest lap there of the bunch. We get to lap 302, and here's where the fun starts. We get a caution for the 21 spinning and then blowing the tire, or I don't know. Did he blow the tire first, and that's what caused the spin?
I think he was sliding, and then the slide, he contributed to the tire exploding. But I got to tell you, you didn't exactly mention, you said he's one of the fastest cars on track. He was gaining. Was it Reddick that was in front of him?
Yep.
He was gaining. And I was like, okay, we're at least potentially looking at a battle for a top 5, like within the last couple laps of this race.
Right.
And, because of what happened at Las Vegas with that restart, what happened on, just one of the restarts back in the packet, Fontana, man, I was devastated. It was like a mix between devastated and angry. And I don't even know what the feeling was, but I did not want to see that caution come out. And I know you are a huge fan of, letting the race play out and a green flag run. And this car was good on long green flag runs. And I thought, we're going to get that top 5, have a really solid day. Caution comes out, and, man, I was so mad. And, but things play out here in a scenario that maybe I didn't see coming. And, I put a note out ahead of this pit stop on Twitter, and it was kind of tongue in cheek a little bit, but one of the criticisms of this team is that maybe even going back to when he was with Todd Gordon, that they don't take enough risks. And, they had an opportunity earlier in this season to maybe take a risk to try to go for a win, and they didn't. They played it a little bit safe. But though I think we argued on our own podcast that actually they took the risk on that one, that instance as well. So I just put it out there. I said, okay, everybody out there, you've been calling for wanting them to do a 2-tire stop in one of these scenarios. So this is so win or lose, this is on you. And now you can talk about this pit stop, because I know you have some more things to say about it. But here we go. Here we go. This was they definitely grasped this opportunity and ran with it.
Yeah, they go. The first thing you use as a word is a discount. And like I said, these code words kind of change from week to week, and they all deal with sponsors, which is really cool. But as they're coming on to pit road, he says number 5 is the call. So number 5 is something on a sheet that everybody must be able to see, and everybody must be able to know what they have. And then as they're coming in, he says right sides. So, you don't tip your hand until you're all the way on to pit road. But he does right sides here. They were pitting 6th. Okay. So 2 of the cars in front of him that end up taking 4 tires is the leader, the 4 car, and then the car that was directly in front of him, the 45, they took 4 tires. We know that the 5 and the 24 were in front of him. They took 2. There's one other car, and I'd have to go back and look down and see who it was in the top 5 in front of him. Took 2, but Ryan beat that car.
Yep.
Off of pit road. So
I think was it the 1 car? Can't remember.
It might have been the 1.
Might have been the 1.
Yes. It might have been the 1 at that point. So he goes in 6th, comes out 3rd. And the Team Penske Instagram stories, there is the one at the top of the thing. They have a video. It's only 4.85 seconds or something like that. They posted the video. It's from behind the car up pit road. It's really great. 2-tire stop. And,
you might joke. I think I joked initially. I'm like, oh, yeah, well, of course, that was the fastest stop of the week. But as you just said, technically +3 because of the strategy. But honestly, he did gain a spot over somebody else that was on the same strategy as them.
Right.
So that, when we talk about wanting this pit crew who got consistently better throughout the day after that, first stumble out of the gate, they showed up when they were needed on the money stop.
You come down pit road and let's say that, we know that they're the 6th one coming down pit road. Okay. We know that the first car coming down pit road took 4 tires. So you should be able to beat them if you're taking 2, but the next car up the line, whoever was second at that point, which would have been the 5 car, you're not necessarily going to catch him in your pit stop. He's 3 cars ahead of you. He gets to his pit box a second before you get to your pit box. So to beat him off a pit road is pretty hard to do. The next guy back, same thing, to beat him off a pit road. But that one car that might be 1 in front of you, and this actually was a car that was 2 in front of him, he did beat off a pit road. So that is how good that pit stop really is. You guys, you just see that how they come in and how they come out. But you're not going to beat 5 cars off a pit road with the same pit stop if you're all taking 4 tires or all taking 2 tires. You're only going to beat maybe 1 or 2 in front of you when you have a really good stop. And somebody behind you might beat you if they're 1 or 2 behind you, and they have an extremely good stop. So this was an extremely good stop, and it put him in a great position here.
I went from being very angry to being really excited about the call because I'm like, this is what we needed. It's, some sort of a shot in the arm. They're showing that they want to win. They don't want to just run top 10. And I was nervous because, who knows what's going to happen with 2 tires. There was, pretty decent lap fall off. The benefit they have here is a little bit cleaner air than they've had all race long.
Now, the next biggest thing is how many cars took 2 versus how many cars took 4, or where did those 4 tire cars fall out? In the first 6 cars were actually cars that took 2 tires. So there's a little bit of a buffer. There's at least a row of a buffer between him and 4 tires. The week prior, he was on the 4th row. So he was behind an extra row even. So that makes a difference too. If you've got if there's other guys on the same strategy, that's the same thing about what they said about Truex last week staying out. Nobody else stayed out, so nobody else was on the same strategies as him last week. For the choose cone on this initial here, 5 takes the bottom, the 24 takes the top, Ryan takes the bottom. I think this is a pretty smart move. In case guys wash up the track, if you've hooked the bottom pretty good, the big thing is getting through that start-finish line and then going down as low as you can go, get away from everybody. They restart lap 309, and right away we get the 54 and the 16 crashing in turns 1 and 2. I don't even think they were related. The crashes, they said, were separate.
Yeah, separate incidents that led to them kind of getting collected there together. Yeah. And feel bad for AJ Allmendinger. He hasn't had a tough go of it so far this year.
Now, during the pit stop or after the pit stop, I talked about pumping up the right sides for the restart. Okay. Now there's something else that comes over the radio that I find extremely interesting. Jonathan, once again, let's give credit to the crew chief people. he talks about balancing with the front brakes. There's some things that the driver can adjust in the car still, and brake bias is one of those things. So he gives him a little bit of tip of something that he might be able to do that'll help with the car, on the next restart. He was still third after that crash. I was hoping he would have got to second, but then again, on the other hand, third is sometimes the place to be, as we've seen in different, occasions when the top two are racing hard with each other. So on the choose here, the 5 takes the bottom, the 24 takes the top, and Ryan takes the bottom. And the 45 car, now I point out, he made it to 4th on that restart. So now he's on 4 tires, and he takes the top. He's behind the 4 car. The restart once again gets wild, and then as they get to 1 and 2, Ryan does a good job. He's hooked the bottom. He's kind of gotten below the 24 or the 5, and then the 24 is on the outside. And as they start to get to 3 and 4, the 45 car, who has 4 fresh tires, decides he's going to punt somebody. Unfortunately, the guy he chose was the 24 car all the way at the top. Now, I don't know if he was hoping he would punt him out of the way and then come up underneath him or whatnot. But give William all the credit in the world, held on to it, kept it straight, and got himself enough of ahead of the 5 car where he was actually able to cut the 5 car off going into 4. Meanwhile, Ryan is down low, and he's almost even with these two.
Yep.
Right as the 45 punts the 24 to the lead. Envisioning it, if the 45 wins the race for the 24, William did a great job of holding on to the car, and we'll give him credit for that. But the 45 put him in the lead. Okay. If the 45 doesn't punt him in quite that manner, I definitely can see the 5 car was trying to squeeze the 24 out of a line that he didn't want to run in 3 and 4. And while he's doing that, Ryan has actually hooked the bottom, got himself to a pretty good position where he may have been racing both of them on the last lap 3 wide.
Yep.
Or and this is just, something you see in your head, the 5 car kind of washing up into the 24 just a little bit, not enough to knock each other out or hit the wall, but just enough to bump each other and take a little momentum away. And then by the time we get to 1 and 2, Ryan's by himself. It did not happen.
Yeah.
But these things have happened. And Ryan has been the beneficiary of things like, people running into each other, and then coming to the green checker, they're coming, the checker flag, nobody's in front of them. But overall, I was, before the incident happened, I really was like, it just tracked down 5th place. If he would have gotten to the 45 car, I think he could have passed him. He could have got to 5th place by the end of the race. 2nd place, though, we will definitely take that second after the way the day went, because, he was a 5th, 6th, 7th place car. That's what I say about these races running their regular path and not having a green, white checker finish, is the guys who, and the 24 car was one of the best cars all day. If him or the 5 or the 4 didn't win, it would have been a little bit of a shame, because they were the 3 best cars. They proved that over long runs of the race. So getting a 2nd place finish out of this is just spectacular. Great way to end the West Coast swing. Definitely changes the point standings, which I'm sure you'll point out here in a minute. So yeah, great job by the team. All the critics can go away for a while, please. Just go to bed. I noticed that it was a lot quieter on some of the social medias, because when executed, and these things, this is the way the team's going to be when they execute, and they will execute. They're getting the momentum a little bit now. They get the swagger back a little bit, and like I said, once they win one, they're going to win a bunch. So just get ready for the wild ride that's going to come in the next couple months.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't blame the critics too much, because they want the same thing too. They do want to see, they're not out there rooting for the pit crew to be bad, or, the bad strategy call, or Ryan to, make a mistake. They want everything that we want. They're just a little bit more vocal in their disappointment, maybe. But like I said earlier, it was really great to see the pit crew improve all day long. I think on the day, I mean, if you throw in the 2-tire stop at the end, they're probably about +3, +4 on the day. Without that, they're kind of +1 on normal pit stops. Great strategy call at the end. Just, at least gave Ryan a shot at a win there. And I mean, I don't know what it was like at your house, but I'm on my feet, at the end of that race. I thought Ryan, within that last restart, maybe won the race like 3 different times, and then it, just wasn't able. I think it was just some of that, the push that the 24 got from the 45, and just their raw speed down the straightaways. I think that's kind of what gave the 24 car that victory. But there's a couple times where Ryan got side by side with them, and I was really hoping for a drag race between those two. But this is the shot in the arm this team needed. They needed some momentum. They went out there, like I said, bad run at Fontana, average run at Las Vegas. This kind of changes everything as they head into a track that, in Atlanta, that's, more super speedway style, that Ryan has a really good opportunity to capitalize on and use his skills there. You talked about the points here. So Ryan had fallen back a few positions last week after the last couple of finishes here, but now he's vaulted back up in the standings. He is in the 8th position, 30 points out from the lead, which is Alex Bowman in the 48 car. The spots right around him are really close, though. Just ahead of him is Denny Hamlin at 29 or -29, and below him, Kyle Busch and Truex are -32. So early on in the season, one good finish here or there will vault you up and down the standings. We're going to see that in the fantasy standings here in a little bit. So they're in a really good spot here. Plus, more importantly, 2 stages where they scored stage points, where they've really struggled to score stage points so far in 2023. So that's been really good to see. One thing we didn't talk about, and there's, plenty outside of the drama on the racetrack, there's some drama off the track this week when it came to the Hendrick Motorsports cars, and then also the 31 from Colleague Racing. All Chevrolet cars all had the hood louvers, which are like those little vents on the hood of the car, were all confiscated after practice. I think it was something they actually found before practice, but they, let them go out there and run, and then they confiscated them after practice. And I guess those teams are kind of scrambling to find replacements there. Now it's just like everything else. It's a single source part. It's suspected that they've made some sort of modification to them. Not sure what it is. The teams have been, I guess, kind of grumbling a little bit that they don't like the way these parts are coming to them, and maybe are claiming, they wouldn't fit right, so they had to do something. They've really, outside of, Penske, when they made those modifications, Penske and RFK, to the wheel wells, or the wheels, sorry, at Daytona last year, where they let that slide, NASCAR's thrown the book at everybody else. RFK in the 6 car with the bumper cover in the back. The 34 car made some other aerodynamic changes. You saw Denny Hamlin and I think it was Kyle Busch get DNQ'd. Hamlin was DNQ'd, I think, from the victory at Pocono last year because they added a little bit extra tape under the on the front bumper there.
Right.
So
under the wrap.
I'm waiting. And I mean, this would be
first off, the last year, the Penske wheel issue, they had emailed NASCAR ahead of time. So there was a chain of emails. It was a safety issue. NASCAR actually, in the long run, actually agreed with what they did. This, from listening to the teardown, these parts were actually shipped to them incorrectly. What the guys on the teardown said is that the 3 manufacturers, their louvers are each different. So whoever the single source is has to make 3 different styles of louvers or whatever, one for Chevy, one for Ford, one for Toyota. But there was a bad batch, basically. Now, whether this batch was an aerodynamic issue or what's going to help them, who knows? But they were told not to put them on the cars. That's where the penalty may come from, is they were told ahead of time this bad batch came and you guys aren't supposed to use them. So that is part of the reason why they knew what to look for in the garage on Friday. They didn't swap them out, mind you, because they didn't have, at that point, something to swap them out with. NASCAR let them use them. And then by Saturday, they had them swapped out. They took them, after practice. This is, like I said, this is something from the guys at the teardown. So the NASCAR knew of it ahead of time. The teams were told ahead of time. The big thing, like I said, I don't know if it's texting you or not. The big thing is going to be the appeal, because the appeal will probably be, well, these cars were already in a hauler. They were already on their way out there. And it's going to be a timing thing. Well, when did we find out? When did we know? We couldn't swap it out. We couldn't take the cars out of the haulers in the middle of Texas, whatever it's going to be. There's going to be some sort of issue like that. But I expect a little bit of a spanking of some sort, because they kind of knew ahead of time that there was some sort of issue. It's just a matter of when did they know ahead of time? Did they know last week after the cars were already prepped, and, like I said, in the haulers, or did they know 2 weeks ago and, they used them anyway? So
the messaging here from NASCAR is going to be really, really important, because among the fan base, the folks that aren't Hendrick Motorsports fans, this goes back to Gordon. And then, Jimmy Johnson, Chad Knaus, people are always accusing them of cheating. So the messaging here, what you just mentioned, they kind of have an out there. So if it wasn't, in fact, them actually modifying a part, maybe that means that the penalty here, it might be a little bit different, or could be lesser than, getting the book thrown at them, the 100-point fine, the crew chief suspended, all that stuff. I could see them having an out there. But I just don't see this as this is like a no-win situation here for NASCAR. I bet you those inspectors probably didn't even want to see this happen, because just the way that this is going to be received, especially if they don't get as severe a penalty as some of the other teams have gotten for actual modifications, that's going to cause an outrage. If they let them off completely, God, I don't even want to see what happens then. Or if they do give them that full severe punishment, the team's going to be pretty upset. And like you said, they're going to state their case. They'll probably appeal. So again, as of, we're recording right now, there's nothing to appeal yet. But if a ruling does come down that's against them, they probably will appeal. And like you said, talk about communication problems and shipping problems and that kind of thing. So we'll wait and see what happens there. But potentially, when you're talking about a 4-car team, and it could impact, 4 crew chiefs, could impact a lot of points among all those cars. And we said, assuming they all win still, and Chase actually wouldn't take a hit in driver points because he's actually out anyway, losing points in other ways. So it's not going to be devastating for them, but it's an inconvenience that maybe they didn't need. One other thing that kind of happened a little bit breaking right before we started recording this on Monday is the fact that Denny Hamlin has actually come out on his podcast. So if people weren't paying attention, at the end of that race, Hamlin and the 1 car of Chastain were running toward the top, the front of the top 10. Yeah. And when the race is over, people are looking at the lineup and they're like, what the heck happened? Because Hamlin, I think, was 23rd and Chastain was 24th. And people are like, oh man,
somebody flicked on that switch with the magnets that they have in the cars. And once again, they found each other somehow.
So the replay, the folks did some really good job of lining up their in-cars from the end of this. Hamlin, you can tell, gets really tight going into the corner, washes up into the 1 car, just goes straight into the wall, the both of them, and then they just head straight back, and then down the back stretch, the 1 car brake checks the heck out of the 11, basically the rest of the way, and the 11 does get around them to finish just one position ahead here. So this soap opera between those two, someone was joking about, it's just the ones. It's like the 11 and the 1, they just can't get away from each other. Hamlin has a podcast that launched this year, Actions Detrimental, with Dirty Mo Media, and people have been waiting for this to release. And he actually came out on the podcast and just completely admitted that it was intentional, that, it wasn't maybe premeditated. He said he got into the corner. He said his car was plowing tight. He washed up into the 1 car. He said within those matter of seconds, he realized that he was going to lose several positions, and he said he just let the wheel go and said, he's going to come with me to the back. So
love will keep them together.
So we're talking about these possible Hendrick penalties. There is precedent here for drivers being fined after being honest about some of their actions on the track. So I don't know what will happen. Maybe it'll be a private fine that we've seen in the past. Super secret suspensions or or whatever it's going to be. But Hamlin,
double secret blind probation.
Yeah, probation. There you go. I don't know what I mean. Denny's been incredibly honest with this podcast so far, so I'm not surprised that he just said it like it was, or at least how the way he sees it is probably the better way to do. But what are your thoughts? And do you think that there might be a fine coming for him, or do you think there might be one and we just won't hear about it?
Oh man, yeah, it's probably that we won't hear about it, and that way, I don't know, because now having a podcast is a dangerous thing, because he's been on the West Coast swing. He would do the podcast like literally a couple hours after getting out of the car, which doesn't give you much time for reflection, thought, or anything like that. And he's been pretty honest. And this was a day after he got home from to Charlotte and everything, and did the podcast. But he still did it pretty early today for it to already come out on Monday. And you can find him, but then next week on the podcast, what are you going to hear? You know what I mean? I mean, he's going to have to hang out with the door bumper clear guys because they end up in the hauler too, having to talk about what they did or didn't say.
Yeah. So we're just going to have to see what happens here. I appreciate the fact that he was upfront and just blatantly obvious about it. Like, yep, I meant to put him in the fence. That's what I wanted to do. Odd timing, but I guess it was just all about the scenario and just being convenient, maybe. So we're gonna have to see what happens with that. He did say that they talked for a very long time after the race, that they said that they've struck up a truce here. He actually revealed the fact that they actually went out for breakfast to hash things out last year at one point too, and I guess that didn't stick. So maybe this will stick, and maybe those two can get that magnet off of them. We're just going to have to see as we head out to a track where you're not going to retaliate this weekend, and that is at the newly reconfigured Atlanta Motor Speedway. If you want to catch the action this week, there's going to be no practice. So we go from extra time with practice last week at Phoenix to no practice at Atlanta because of it racing much like a super speedway now. But you can catch Cup Series qualifying at 11:30 a.m. on Saturday on FS1. They're actually going to have a doubleheader on Saturday as well. So if you want your racing fix in, the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series are going to be running. You can catch the Freight 208 with the Craftsman Truck Series at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on FS1. And then a little bit later on, you can catch the NASCAR Xfinity Series 2023 Raptor 250, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on FS1. Just with that style of racing, I think they're going to be some pretty exciting races. So if you want some appetizers before your entree on Sunday, catch those races. And then if you want to catch the big race, Sunday, March 19th, the pre-race show starts at 2 p.m. on Fox, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. You can catch the Ambetter Health 400 at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Now I can bring up some stats here for Ryan Blaney, because Ryan Blaney historically was pretty decent at Atlanta Motor Speedway. He has an average start of 14.3, an average finish of 12, 1 win, 4 top 5s, 4 top 10s. But in reality, there's really only 2 stats that we can really look at under this new configuration that they launched last year. So we had 2 races there last year. The spring race, he started second, finished 17th. Summer race, started 6th, finished 5th. So he does have 1 top 5 in 2 starts on this new configuration, where it races much more like a super speedway, but a very narrow, very fast super speedway.
Yeah, the qualifying is sort of important here, just for track position.
Absolutely.
Because it doesn't race like a true super speedway. And really with this package in this car, even the super speedways, they get single file, they get hard to pass. Nobody can duck out, start their own lane, that kind of thing. So, for him to start somewhere near the top 10 and even, top 5 would be excellent. Then it'll be just a matter of holding that track position and being there near the end.
Yeah, and we're really interested to see what happens with the track. Now, it's only been a year since the reconfiguration and repave, So they did race a lot in packs last year. I'm interested to see what happens over the next few years as that asphalt starts to age. Is it gonna morph into something really, really cool and unexpected? Or will they kind of stay in these packs or stay where they run single file for a little while? Either way, it's one of those races that I'm looking forward to. Atlanta is one of the tracks that we go to in person every year, so we're going to be heading out there on Saturday for the races this weekend, and I'm excited to see that.
Look for some Adam TikToks, some Team Blaney TikToks from the track.
I'm hoping so. The one thing I'll say is that Daytona, and I didn't do that many, but Daytona had an upgrade with their Wi-Fi. I think they had a partnership with Verizon, and they actually brought in some mobile stuff. And so Daytona was awesome. I think my experiences at Atlanta before, the Wi-Fi is not too great, but what I can get out there, I will. And if you're at the track and you see me walking around with some Blaney gear on, or Ryan Blaney Family Foundation stuff, make sure to give a wave, say hello. It'd be really great to meet you out there. I'm not really sure what to expect from this race. Like you said, there's a good possibility that we might get spread out a little bit here. We might be running single file. I'm hoping that they stay in the pack a little bit more. But that track position is going to be really, really key. One other change that they did make to the kind of the configuration for this year, which didn't come into play at all last year, but I guess they're trying to be proactive. They've moved the pit entry to the apron of turn 3, and you have to run so watch for speeding penalties. You have to run pit speed from that entrance of turn 3 on the apron all the way around to the front stretch and onto pit road. No green flag pit stops have happened yet on this track. It's only been at stage breaks or cautions so far. What do you think the challenge that might be for some drivers coming up this week? And like I said, the Kyle Bushes of the world, the Daniel Suarez's of the world, who are, just seem, it used to be Hamlin, constantly getting caught for speeding. This is a long way around. It's almost like those short tracks where you have to enter on the opposite pit road as your own. You just got to hold that speed for a really long time.
You know what? I don't think it's going to be as bad as you think, mainly because if you do green flag cycle, that's by manufacturer usually in these situations. So you're going to come in with 6, 8, 10 of your fellow racers. So as long as the lead guy gets it woed down and everybody else gets in line behind him, it should be fine. It could be an issue, if somebody screws up and they stack up on each other, but like I said, for the most part, I don't think it's going to be bad as people think. A little hairy, maybe, but like I said, they usually pit in a pack by manufacturer. So it'll be just, if they do have a green flag cycle, hopefully nobody has an issue in front of anybody else.
So again, if you want to catch this race, the Ambetter Health 400 this Sunday at Atlanta Motor Speedway, 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Fox. So we talked about the NASCAR Cup Series standings. Now it's time to talk about the Team Blaney NASCAR Fantasy Live League standings. First of all, we're going to go through who we started in our lineups. And I thought, man, I had a really great lineup this week based on where guys were running throughout the race, based on the points that they actually earned. When I'm looking through my lineup, I feel like I got a lot of points. But it actually didn't really reflect it because everybody seemingly had a really good lineup for Phoenix. So I started Ryan Blaney, got me 43 points. Started Kyle Larson, got me 52 points. Started Kevin Harvick. That could have gone better. Got me 43 points. Started Denny Hamlin, got me 26 points. So Denny, thanks for making that decision there. I think Denny is really one of the main reasons here why I had some problems, because he could have finished top 5. Kyle Busch rallied back from some speeding penalty early on in the race, got me 30 points. So I thought all of that was pretty decent. I kept Daniel Suarez in the garage just in case. The team had been, pretty stout all year long up until this point. They had 3 straight top 10s, one of only 2 drivers to do that starting out the year this year. He stayed in the garage. That was a good decision. He only got 15 points because he himself also had a speeding penalty that set them way back. In the featured matchups, I picked Byron over Briscoe. That was correct. Obviously, he won the race. I picked Blaney over Truex. That was right. I picked Chastain over Bell. That was wrong. That was another opportunity there where maybe that incident doesn't happen. Ross was up on the outside. seemingly safe until what happened there. So maybe I could have scored 10 points if that incident wouldn't have happened. And then I picked Reddick over Cindric. That was correct. So I split the difference there on those picks. Steve, who did you start in your lineup? Because it was pretty stout.
Yeah, I had Byron. That's the best one I have. I had Christopher Bell, Larson, Hamlin. I started Kyle Busch and I had Ryan in the garage to start. Kyle Busch ends up with the 2 penalties, and I quickly switch Ryan into the lineup.
Now, this is new in 2023 for you. I think this is a couple weeks in a row where you've made some garage swaps that you don't normally do.
I hurried up and made the switch, and that worked out really, really well, except for what happens at the end with Hamlin. Once again, like you said, Hamlin ends up costing me some points probably. But Byron was the number 1 in points, and Bell and Blaney both had 43, and Larson at 52. So I had the first ranked, second ranked, fourth, and fourth ranked guys in points out of my top 5 there. Hamlin ended up 12th ranked in points based on some good stage finishes. But Kyle Busch would have been like 4 more points if I had him in instead of Hamlin. I had Byron over Briscoe. I had Ryan over Martin. I had Christopher Bell over Chastain, and I had Tyler Reddick over Austin. A couple of those I thought were no-brainers. Like Byron over Briscoe, I thought was a no-brainer.
Yep.
Of course, Ryan, I thought was a no-brainer. Reddick over Cindric, I thought was a no-brainer. And then the Bell Chastain one really could have flipped a coin, but I thought Bell has been running really well lately. So, yeah, I maximized a pretty good points day there, as we'll see.
So let's take a look at the top 10 in points earned in the league at Phoenix Raceway. In the 10th position might be one of my new favorite names here in the Team Blaney NASCAR Fantasy Live League. In 10th with 256 points, 0 Schlitz given. In the 10th position. Tied for 8th here, we have Alex Ortega and your team, Mez 12, 263 points. Earned 7th, US Calvin, 265 points. 6th, Go Larson, 268. 5th, Bears Motor Club, 270. 4th, we have the Nutty Gamer with 273 points earned. And 3rd, Factory of Sadness coming on strong again this year as they did last year, 280 points. And tied for 1st this week, Eric D15 and Epic Chickens 1916 tied in the 1st position in points earned with 283 points. Now let's take a look at the overall standings.
Oh, where were you?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
It wasn't. It wasn't completely awful, but it wasn't great. Finished in the 40th position there, 224 points. I wasn't that far out of a top 10 spot there, just about 20 points on us. Those feature matchups, if I had just gotten some of those right, that probably would have got me up there. So that's what I was saying. My lineup was really, really good. Just one tweak here or there might have actually got me up there. Now we mentioned this with the Cup Series standings. This early on in the season, one good race, one good finish will put you up and down in the standings real fast. And we saw that with you this week. You saw that with me. I felt like I was gloating a little bit so far this year. I've been doing pretty good. But here I am now, 22nd in the overall standing, 742 points. But let's take a look at the top 10 overall, because that's where you live right now. But in the 10th position, we have Dusty Hawk 30, 766 points. Just 1 point ahead there. 9th position, your team, Mez 12, 767. So you vaulted from the 15 to 20 range all the way up into the top 10 right now. Epic Chickens 1916, 784 points. One thing to point out here, we are now full on the league with the 100 members. Epic Chickens, I'm pretty sure, is one of those folks that missed the first couple weeks here. They've come on really strong since they got into the league after I opened up some spots. So good run for them so far in the 8th position. 7th, Blaney or Bus, 788 points. 6th, Blaring Idiot, 793. 5th, Bulldog, 0277, 797 points. 4th, Factory of Sadness, 6, 808 points. 3rd, Christian Dana, 822 points. 2nd, Hilton's Heroes, 846. And in the 1st position in the overall standings for the Team Blaney NASCAR Fantasy Live League, we have the Nutty Gamer with 867 points. So the Cup Series and the Team Blaney NASCAR Fantasy Live League is headed to Atlanta Motor Speedway this weekend, as we just talked about. I think you said early on that you might just be starting Ryan over and over and over again to use up all his spots. Is Ryan going to be in your garage? Is Ryan going to be in your starting lineup? And who else do you have your eye on this week?
Well, the NASCAR has been putting out the lineup, the sponsor lineup on Mondays now, which before it was like Tuesdays. It wouldn't come out till Tuesday. So I checked it out just before we started recording, and it's Body Armor Sport Water.
All
new on the car this week. I cannot wait to see what that looks like. There's a couple people in the Discord talking about who was at the shop today. Did anybody see it? And unfortunately, no, there were no pictures. Although I'm sure if we text the right person, we could probably get a picture at this point. But that's all right. We'll see it on the weekend. But so I can't wait to see what that car looks like, because it looks, if it's a lot of white or whatever, it might look really good in the front.
That going to influence your fantasy pick?
Sponsor? The sponsor might, I'm all about Body Armor. I'm all in on them as a sponsor. Love their design. As a matter of fact, if somebody can find a picture of what it looks like, what it looks like, I need to know. I need an actual picture, because I want to hurry up and do one of my hoods, one of my mini hoods. I'd like to do one before the weekend, even if I could. But truthfully, this is a weekend where you'd like to see, not the chaos, but you'd like to see a couple of those guys who, like Corey LaJoie, who did a good job with it last year. The chance up there. Chase won't be in the way of for him this year on this one. Point. So, we know that Ryan will do really well here as long as nobody else. Once again, everything deals with ending. If there's a mess, if somebody has a crash, it takes out a bunch of cars. Truthfully, the fantasy thing should give you like 4 garage guys, because on these races you could end up having 3 guys in one of those wrecks, and then you're just kind of like, did they fix the car? Did they get it back out there? Allegedly the nose is supposed to make a difference that the Fords have, but haven't seen it yet on the aero tracks. So
if it doesn't qualifying, I'm fine with that. Like you said, track position might be key.
So I don't know. I want to give specific names. Bubba Wallace, I think, will do well in this situation. He's really good at super speedways. This super speedway is different than the other 2 super speedways too, because of the narrowness, because it's only 1.5 miles. The drafting is a little bit different. So,
yeah, I mean, I think you can't go wrong with like Hendrick cars. William Byron won at Atlanta last year as well. Chase won the other race at Atlanta, so they're really strong there. I'm not sure. Corey LaJoie, I didn't see where he finished this past week at Phoenix, but that car has had speed all year. Speed for where they run relative to where they run this year. He had a legitimate shot, running up front and racing and battling with Chase Elliott at the end of the July race there last year. So maybe Aspire car is one of those to look at. Justin Haley's another one of those sleeper picks. He won a rain shortened race at July race at Daytona a few years ago, but I think he's also run up front at Atlanta on this new configuration. So if you're looking at things for load management, maybe this is when you want to start Justin Haley, Corey LaJoie, AJ Allmendinger, some of these other people that, maybe not Allmendinger. You might want to save him since he's full-time now for the road course races. Scratch that. But some people that maybe you wouldn't usually use, and just because of what you said, if they are running in a tight pack and somebody gets loose and it takes out 10 cars, you might not want to use all of your top spots. But it's still, for me, I mean, that 2014 with William Byron, he has a win there last year. Incredible amount of momentum. And if they can start up front, they have a really good chance at controlling this race. So those are the folks, at least I think you should have your eye on. Ryan might not be a bad start for me. This is the type of race where I'm probably going to start Ryan in the garage. So Steve teased it at the top of the show, but we are really excited to have another guest, another representative to come and talk to us about the Ryan Blaney Family Foundation and those efforts. So let's go to that interview right now. Let's welcome Leah Reeves back to the Team Blaney podcast. Leah is the daughter of National Sprint Car Hall of Famer Dale Blaney, but more importantly, she's the Director of Marketing and Programs for the Ryan Blaney Family Foundation. Leah, welcome back to the show.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So we've been lucky enough to catch up with you and your sister or your cousin. Sorry, not your sister. You guys are like sisters. You and your cousins on the show for the last couple of years. So we wanted to welcome you back again because we know the foundation, especially in the last couple of years, been super, super busy. And I don't think things have let up when it get changed over to 2023. So you guys have plenty of programs, social media, marketing, everything going on. And one of the big events that's definitely happened in 2022, happening again in 2023, is the Top Golf event that you guys had in Charlotte. So first of all, can you talk about last year's event a little bit and its success, and then what you're excited for in 2023's event?
Definitely. So last year we had our first in-person fundraising event. It had kind of got pushed back a little bit, due to COVID and all those fun things. So we had it at Top Golf Charlotte, the university location. We rented out the whole third floor. Invited all kinds of people to come, Ryan's sponsors, local businesses. We had a wonderful time. We had a silent auction. We had a hole-in-one contest to win $10,000. We might have had door prizes. I can't remember off the top of my head. Gift bags, food, bar. It was a lot of fun. Tournament play for the golf. The winner, I think, got a trophy, and then maybe best dressed got a trophy too. So we had a lot of fun raising money for our Fund a Fellow program, which we funded 2 fellows to go through the UPMC sports medicine concussion program. So they've been going through their schooling to pretty much learn everything that Dr. Collins has to offer there at the UPMC program. So we raised over $200,000 last year. It was an awesome event. We had so much fun. Ryan was there, obviously, had some other drivers, Bubba, Daniel Hemrick, Chase, Dale Jr., Christian McCaffrey made an appearance. Cole Swindell was there. So we had a lot of really cool people join us. It was tons of fun, super successful, and we are going to do it again this year. Our date for this year's is Thursday, May 25th, right before the Coke 600. We've tried to ramp it up a little bit this year, and now we're renting out 2 whole floors. So we have the top floor for our VIP sponsor area, but then we have the second floor for our friends and the public. Fans can come. We have single tickets available. If you purchase an entire bay for 6 golfers, you get a discounted rate. So we're really excited to have the fans there this year. I think it's just going to kind of add an element of excitement. We're going to have Ryan checking out their bays, going to say hello, tournament play again, silent auction again, hole-in-one contest again. So we still have a lot of those fun things that get people to interact. But I really think that it's going to be a lot more exciting having more people there and raising money for a good cause. We aren't picking a certain program this year for all of our funds to go to. We're just going to put it full force back into the foundation to continue supporting Alzheimer's and concussions. We have really kind of ramped up our programs that we're participating in or doing ourselves. So we have a lot going on, and we figured, hey, that's where our money's best going to this year. So we're super excited, looking forward to it. We hope it's a great turnout.
Yeah, speak to participating in the event, because I've had a couple people ask me about it, and they're like, I don't golf.
Yes.
And they don't understand it's kind of like golf, but it's not like golf, and you really don't need to be a golfer to do it.
Absolutely not. Top golf is for everybody. I am the world's worst golfer. I literally just learned a few years ago that I'm actually a left-handed golfer. I couldn't hit the ball for 24 years of my life. So it's okay if you can't even hit the ball. No big deal. You can still come and have fun, but it's not a serious game. I think the goal is to hit certain colors out in the
targets. I think they are. Just certain distances away.
Exactly. And if you get the points, great. If you don't, it's okay. If you swing 10 times and hit it once, that's awesome. So you definitely don't have to be a professional or anywhere good. The tournament, it will keep track of points, and the team with the most points will get a trophy. But again, it's all for fun and games. So you could be on the PGA Tour or you could be like me, but it's going to be a fun night.
Yeah, I mean, it's a donation too, so it's over a certain amount, which probably is tax deductible, probably. So,
Yes.
The price point I found was really, really reasonable, I thought, and it's not hard to put together. You don't have to put together 6 people,
Right.
but like you said, you can save if you put together 6 people. But
Yeah.
I find it was really, for a fan to just have a chance, and then it's a meet and greet too. At some point they come by the booth, and Ryan comes by, and so it's definitely a great opportunity to enjoy that too.
Definitely. We know it's a little expensive. It's a pricier event. And I know that things are kind of hard right now. The economy is crazy, but we are trying to make it definitely worth the dollar. So it might be a little bit more than people would like to pay or expect to pay, but like you said, we're definitely going to do the meet and greet. They're going to get a gift bag. I think some things will have signatures from Ryan on it. For some gift bags, I'm not positive of the different tiers for that, but we are definitely doing our best to offer as much as possible to the participants and people who can come, because we appreciate them donating their time and their dollars to our cause.
Well, I mean, as a fan, if you when you go to the website to look it over, look at what the corporate booths cost and what their donations are like. And when you get down to the actual fan ones, it's like I said, it's really, really reasonable. And the best part is it's that week between the All-Star race and the 600. So if you're going to come to town, you just come to town maybe a day earlier, or 2, depending on how you're going to travel. And, just add it to your calendar,
Yeah, we thought that would be the perfect time to have it. We moved it to the Thursday. I think it was a Tuesday last year. We moved it to the Thursday this year to hopefully be closer. And like you said, people are coming down. Maybe you can make a little bit longer of a weekend out of it. Come spend a day with us. So we're hoping that will entice some more people to come join us.
Yeah, and definitely the cool thing about this week too, and I know we were there a little bit earlier last week, but what Steve and I and our family did when we came to town was that morning we went and toured all the race shops, and then that evening went out to the golf event and had a really good time. And leading into the 600, you might catch a glimpse of some of the team's Coca-Cola 600 cars that are still out on the shop floor. Obviously, we're very familiar with the Penske shop with going to see Ryan's cars, and they have a great fan experience there if you go and visit that. So you can do lots of things. You go visit the shops, you can go to this event, and then you can catch the racing action the rest of the week. And I'll echo what Steve said. I mean, the atmosphere at this event is amazing. Like you said, you'll have a chance to see Ryan. You'll have a chance to just have fun with the people that you're around. If you do buy a single ticket or just a couple tickets, you're going to be paired up with some other people that are most likely pretty diehard Ryan Blaney fans, and you'll get to meet some new people and then maybe see them at the track later on. So really cool opportunity. And again, as Steve said, you have to remember you're paying for this event and all this atmosphere and all the things you get to do. And it's also a really, really great donation to a really great cause. So for fans that maybe aren't able to attend in person, last year you guys let people sign up for like a Wall of Fame card, where if you paid a certain amount of money, you could go donate anything, I think, get on the Wall of Fame. But if you donated a certain amount, Ryan would actually sign the card and mail it back to you. It made a really, really cool souvenir. I have a few of them over there from last year with the Fun to Fellow thing that was featured on it. Are you guys doing that again this year, and where can people find out information?
Yes, we are doing that again this year. We will have our Wall of Fame. You can donate, like you said, any amount if you can attend, or if you can attend and want to donate too, great. I think $50 or more will get a signature, Ryan's signature. So like you said, a nice little souvenir that you get. And all the information, I know I've posted it on the foundation social media a few times. It will continue to be posted. I'm not sure that it's on the same exact website as the ticket information. So I might have to get back to you on that. I think it might be a different site, but it could be on the same ticket site. I'm not 100% positive. But definitely check out the Ryan Blaney Family Foundation social media pages, and there will be information about it on there.
So again, that's the Ryan Blaney Family Foundation Driving for Good event. It's going to be Thursday, May 25th. Again, the week leading into the Coca-Cola 600. Really amazing event. Find out about it on all of their social media channels in ryanblaneyfamilyfoundation.org. So that's the golf event. We're going to keep getting that information out as you guys continue to release it. We'll share that stuff. So tune into our social media for that as well. But you guys have a lot more going on than just the golf event this year. And we've seen some posts over the last couple of weeks about you guys partnering with the NASCAR Foundation, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So the NASCAR Foundation is doing a thing called Speediatrics, where they are donating bikes to children who are underserved. And we've partnered with them, thanks to Bell Helmets, to donate helmets to all of the kids who are participating. So I believe in Daytona, we donated 110 or 150 helmets. I don't know the exact number that we did in Phoenix this past week, but a lot of helmets. So we're super excited to be partnering with them and just teaching kids that keeping their brains and their heads safe is important, and hopefully they will continue to use them.
Yeah, I don't know about Steve, but I know even for me growing up as a kid, I maybe got a helmet, but very, very late in childhood. And now you come with everything that's going on and the more research that's been done, some of the things you guys promote, concussions are very serious, no matter if you're 5 or if you're 55, 65 and older. So I think that just spreading this awareness is really important.
Definitely. Yeah. You think, I know that when I was a kid, helmets are like, oh, you're kind of dorky. Like, it's cool not to wear a helmet. But yeah, the more research and information that we've had come out about concussions and brain injuries, they really are important. And so I think just getting kids to understand that, hey, that's one simple step that you can do to really protect yourself and the longevity of the health of your brain. Definitely important thing to get across. So we're excited that we can hopefully make a small impact on those kids' lives.
Now, one other initiative that I find really interesting that you guys have been working on, and it kind of has something to do with how you work a lot with Alzheimer's related projects. Talk about these smile boxes that I think you've been partnering with different facilities around the country. You guys went and visited one in Daytona, in some other areas back in Ohio, and I think in the Charlotte area too. Just trying to, I think, bring a smile and cheer up some of the folks that are living in those facilities and maybe battling some of the things that you're supporting causes for. Yeah.
So the idea for our smile boxes kind of all started with our holiday drives. Over the holidays, we've picked memory care facilities in Ohio and down here in Charlotte to visit and take the residents' gifts. So they might have coloring books, crayons, fuzzy slippers, fuzzy socks, robes, just some comfy things and things to keep them busy and their minds busy. And we really enjoy doing that. So we thought, well, hey, why can't we kind of take it up a notch? So we have launched these smile boxes. Well, they'll be launching very soon on our website. And it's basically just a box that has all the fun goodies in it. The coloring books, crayons, fuzzy things, stuffed animals, lotions, body washes, just the necessities that sometimes people don't get or can almost get forgotten about. So they'll be available on I believe on our Shopify. You can either buy one and we can mail it to you and you can give it to someone who might need it, whether it be just a family member that is struggling or has dementia or someone in a memory care facility. Or you can buy one and we'll keep it. And the next time we go to a memory care facility, we'll drop it off to them. So we did a small launch down in Daytona. We took some boxes to all the residents there. They loved them, which was super exciting. So I think our next track that we're going to try to hit is Talladega in April. So those should be launching pretty soon for people to start purchasing. So we're really looking forward to that. And just like you said, hopefully spreading a little cheer and giving someone a smile and know that we're thinking of them.
Now, you mentioned being at the track. So I had the opportunity to go and visit Patty at just outside Daytona, where you guys had the tent set up and you're selling merchandise, and she's out there, talking with people and spreading awareness about your causes, and then also just about the foundation. Really, really great opportunity. Are there any other tracks on the schedule this year? You just mentioned Talladega, and I don't know if you meant that as far as setting up something too there, but anywhere else that fans might be able to interact with you guys at a racetrack near them?
Yes, we are definitely going to Talladega, and of course, I don't have the list handy right
No, that's okay, but that's soon.
More, and so Talladega will be our next one, and we will have a social media post going out about that soon. So, yes, you can come see us at track. At track, Pat will be there. She'll be dealing all the merchandise and giving out the info. So I think there's about 4 or 5 places that we're going to be this year. So we're really excited to just get out and mingle and see everybody. And yeah.
I was going to ask, we've been talking about all this stuff with the foundation, but the fan club kind of did like a little bit of a relaunch this year too. And I liked it. I thought it was really cool that they kind of changed things a little bit, and it's actually a little bit different entry point and so forth for people, but hopefully you're getting a lot of new members to the fan club this year too.
Yeah, so the Ryan Blaney Family Foundation has a fan club called the Blaney Bunch. We've had it for a couple years, but it just kind of has been slow and tossed around, but we're really taking a focus on it. We've lowered the price point, so it's $30 for a year-long membership. We do have like an international rate now, just because shipping costs, of course. But with that $30, you get to be a member for 2023. You get a discount code to the Ryan Blaney Family Foundation's merchandise. You get we're doing periodic giveaways. You get some extra things at the in-person events if you attend, like the Driving for Good. We have members-only merchandise, which, little plug.
Oh, there you go. Awesome t-shirt right there.
So we have all 6 Blaney men racers right here, which is pretty cool. I know some people might not know about all of them, but we try to give a little history lesson now and then. So it's just doing some fun things just to try and interact a little bit more with our fans, give them an added value to being a bunch member. So we're super excited about that. I think it's going to be much better this year. Be able to do more with it. So we're looking forward to that, and hopefully more people want to join. And you can find out about that also on the Ryan Blaney Family Foundation social medias. But then we do have some Blaney Bunch fan pages on Instagram and Facebook, but you have to be a member to join. So they do have the join information on those pages, though.
Yeah, it's really cool. That's kind of like that exclusive access to those social media channels. You guys, one of the other cool things that you sent out again with like renewal packages, we got a little patch and we got hero cards. And it was fun when you guys were sharing some of the photos of your dad and others going through and painstakingly signing all of those in person. And again, I talked about, just getting extra little souvenirs that you might not be able to get anywhere else. And you're only going to get that hero card with those signatures if you sign up. And that $30 price point, I think, is pretty perfect. And that shirt looks pretty cool. I don't have one of those yet, but I think we're going to have to order them maybe after we get off this call.
Yeah. So you can wear them to Talladega.
That's right.
Yeah, we've got 2 colors of shirts. I'm hoping to get hats up later this year. And like you said, when you sign up, you get a signed hero card by all 3 boys, Dave, Dale, and Ryan. You get a poker chip with your number on it. You get a 2023 patch. You get another hero card. Yes, there it is. So we try to just add some extra goodies for you guys. And we really just want to say thank you for continuing to be our fans and supporting us. Like, we really couldn't do this without all the fans. They've been a huge part of our entire family's life. So we really want to be where we are today without them. So we're just want to say thank you and try to give, like you said, some added value and some added like behind the scenes access. We try to post some pictures or videos, and it's hard to catch the boys all together when they're being goofy, but we try. So we just like to do something a little bit extra to say thanks.
So talking about exclusive merchandise for fan club members, but you do have a Shopify store that people can access from your website, and you tend to do kind of relaunches of these as you get like new merchandise and things. So do you guys have another planned like relaunch with new t-shirts, new hats, new stuff at some point this year? And where can people kind of find out more about the store?
Definitely. We have some hats that I just picked up the other day that they should be on the website soon. They're pretty neat, like kind of old school embroidered. So they'll have our new logo on there, which we're excited about. I think probably within the next month or two, we should definitely have some more t-shirts and hopefully stickers available, just some other knick-knacky things on there. So you can find the information on our website, or we do post periodically about it on our social media channels. It stinks that you can only have like one link at a time.
Yep.
Social media bio, because I feel like I'm constantly changing it. But we definitely do post about it. So check out the social media pages or the website. We should hopefully have an updated website soon. I know sometimes it's been a little glitchy. We've had some issues with it, but we are working hard on that to make it more user-friendly and just have all the goodies on there.
So again, just want to encourage everybody to go up to Charlotte Thursday, May 25th for the Driving for Good event at the Top Golf Charlotte University. Check out the Ryan Blaney Family Foundation when they're at a track near you, especially Talladega. That's coming up really, really soon. And follow them on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You guys are kind of all over the place posting not just stuff about the foundation and merchandise and things. You post a lot of really cool things, spreading awareness about the causes that you guys support. Leah, thank you so much for coming on third or fourth time with us. And every time it's really great to hear from you.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I feel like a regular almost.
Yeah.
But love to be on here with you guys. You guys are the best. Thank you for sharing what we do all the time. You guys are a huge reason why people will know about us. So thanks for having us. Thanks for your continued support. And like you said, come to Charlotte, come hang out with us. We're going to have a fun night of golf. So yeah.
Always great, Steve, when someone like Leah Reeves, I always want to say Leah Blaney, but Leah Reeves, the daughter of Dale Blaney, can come on here, talk to us about the foundation. We're big supporters of them, week in, week out, always trying to share their stuff, get the message out there because, Ryan, it's really important. He's in the spotlight, celebrity athlete, but they're also out there trying to do some good. And that's why they started this foundation in the first place. And, I know we got to attend that golf event, as we said last year, an incredible amount of fun. So if you haven't signed up for that yet, go ahead and go to their website, RyanBlaneyFamilyFoundation.org. Look up the information for that. The entry point for a fan, is, I think, manageable because of the experience that you're going to get. You're going to get to meet Ryan. You're going to get to have food. There's going to be drinks. There's all the fun of the golf, and you get to do it on a floor or on a level around fellow Blaney fans.
Yeah, and you get into there was like a door prize last year because we won one of the door prizes. The friends that came with us joined the silent auction. They won one of the silent auction items. There's just a lot to do. Like I said, the golfing is part of it. But you can have fun with it. My wife is, a left-hander who's never golfed in her life. We went out and practiced a couple swings a week or two beforehand. You get there, they've got clubs for you. You don't need to bring clubs. And she whacking away at it, and you can hit targets. You don't even have to hit the target. Each round they change the target, but even if you don't hit the target you're aiming for, but you hit one of the other targets, you still get points. So
that is a pro tip. I did not figure that out until I think our second game through last year. And I was like, oh wait, I'm still getting points for these misses, and it's because I was hitting other targets. But that's targets.
So
that's my golf game, though.
Your wife and my wife both did a great job of that. Actually, they were just like, heck with it. I'm not worried about that one all the way out there. This one's right here in front of me. Put another one in there. Put another one in there. I kept gathering the points, and end up outscoring me, I think, a couple times because of that. I'm trying to shoot missiles out there, and as we get closer to it, we'll post some pictures or videos of our experience last year. But and if you want to go back onto our social media posts to go back and look at some of the stuff, I posted some videos. I got a video of Josh hitting my driver. I have a driver that's not quite legal, and he came down and hit a ball or two with it, and showed you what a real golfer looks like. But you don't have to be a real golfer to participate. It's a lot of fun. And like I said, you get that great experience, and you're going to be with other fans. That's the best part, is you're going to get to meet, a couple hundred other fans are going to be there. The Ryan's fans get together, and you'll get to meet other Ryan fans, and it'll be really cool to meet some people in person.
Absolutely. That's basically been the best part about doing this social media channel with Team Blaney, doing the podcast, is getting to meet fellow fans. We got to meet each other when we, both were living up in Ohio. But Ryan has fans all over the country. We have listeners all over the world, which has been interesting to see. But you guys everybody meet all in one spot and participate in something that really supports a great cause. So thank you, Leah, and thank you, everyone, once again for tuning into this episode of the Team Blaney podcast. If you'd like to learn more about myself or co-host Steve, just listen to our very first episode that explores our Blaney racing fandom. You can interact with us on Facebook and Twitter at Team Blaney, on Instagram at team.blaney. Also check out the new Team Blaney TikTok. Plenty of content up there and some really fun videos that Steve's been working on week in, week out.
Find them and then share them with other people. We want to grow that a little bit and do some things with it, and give us some comments, some things you'd like to see. Maybe we can get our hands on a picture or two. I know that, we've seen some things and get to hear some things. But hopefully, you guys enjoy it, and then we'll try to do as much as we can with it.
And finally, we'd like to encourage you to support the Ryan Blaney Family Foundation. Established in 2018, this organization supports causes like the Alzheimer's Association and UPMC Sports Medicine through fundraisers, events, and membership in the Blaney Bunch Fan Club. To learn more, visit ryanblaneyfamilyfoundation.org or follow them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So for my co-host, Steve Mez, I'm Adam Rogers. We'll catch you right here next time on the Team Blaney podcast.
Good night, Brussels. Check out the TikTok.
Well, thanks everybody for coming. I hope you enjoyed it.